The RAD sessions may contain explicit language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised. Podcast. We are still Random Ass Discussion, but we are now the RAD Sessions presented by Lost Art Productions. I am still your host, Paul Flinders, better known as SSF or Stupid Sexy Flinders. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all as per usual. But yeah, we are back. We're back after nearly a year away. It's been hard to get back into podcasting recently. You know, real life gets in the way. Sometimes motivation dips, but I've had that itch. The itch to come back, and unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, you can't get rid of me that easily. So I am back, and at the moment, I'm on my own. This is going to be a solo podcast to begin with, and in that relation to that, it's going to be a slightly different type of form of podcast. Now, what we used to do back in the day, there used to be like a group of us all talking at the same time type of thing. And we're all together and we all bounced off each other, and that format was fantastic. And at some point, maybe we may bring the odd person back here and there. But as it stands right now, the format is going to change a little bit. Now, what I mean by that is we're not going to be doing the massive long hour and a half, 2 hour podcasts anymore. Basically, obviously, like, real life gets in the way, especially when you've got a family like I do, and other people have got other commitments and things like that. So what this is going to be is it's going to be a shorter form podcast where basically we talk what we want to talk about, whatever's on our mind, for about half an hour, 45 minutes maybe. And yes, that does sound like we are doing less, but my goal is going to be roughly 2 times a week. So all being well, you are going to get new content from Lost Art under the RAD banner, whether it be in the RAD sessions. This is what this is going to be called from this point going forward, the RAD sessions, once or twice a week. So roughly, you're going to get roughly the same amount of content, hopefully, when we used to be back in our prime in 2018, where we were doing the live shows. And this is where I really enjoyed it, and now I'm back. I've come back to annoy the world. Now, if you've not heard us before, maybe a slight introduction, perhaps would be a good idea. So obviously, yes, my name is Paul, Stupid Sexy Flinders, as I'm known as in the podcast world. You know, last name, funny, haha. But yes, that's me, I'm back, and at the moment, like I say, I'm on my own. But we are going to have people like Adam Coxey. We're going to have the stowaway Lewis Ogden. We're going to have Anthony, not Daz. He's all our regular co-hosts, Alan Morrison, maybe even Xander. We'll dust off Xander and bring him back from Scotland. And we are all going to come back at some point, and we are going to be on here. It's as and when, who's available sort of thing. So it's going to be a revolving door of cast members. All being well, I will probably be on every single show. I'm going to be running the ship, the captain of the ship, and hopefully keep the oil on the cogs this time, and hopefully we don't seize up like we have done. And all being well, yeah, it's going to be a nice return. I've been meaning to do this for a long time. Like I say, I've not really recorded anything for the past year. I've not been on Gunpowder. We've not done a Lost Start. We've not done an RAD. And I figured this would be the best way to get back into it. Short form, straight to the point, and yeah, basically talk our mind. So yeah, with that being said, I think we've been rambling now for nearly 4 minutes now. I think it's time to get on with the show. Right, so to start with, we should deal with the big topic that's been going on in the UK for the past week, and it's not really an elephant in the room. It's more, it'd be mean to call it an elephant in the room, but it's more like you can't escape it at the minute, and I would not do it justice if I didn't talk about it, and that is the state of the country it's in at the minute with the passing of our Queen Elizabeth II. Now, I was one of these people who, I didn't give a flying fuck about the royal family. It wasn't for me. It wasn't anything I really gave a second thought about. And I did keep in touch. I did keep sort of like on base with what was going on. And, there was a story about Prince Philip once upon a time where he said something offensive. And I sort of like, paid attention to it. At the time when Prince Philip crashed into someone coming out of his estate and had his licence took off him, paid attention to that. Things like that, doing the podcasting back in the day, you'd keep in touch with the news and, have a look and see what's topics to talk about, and maybe the royal family might have been one of them. But I don't recall us actually really bringing up the royal family too much on this podcast. Now, obviously, nothing as monumental as the passing of a monarch has happened while we've been doing podcasting. As either guys, as WrestleBox, as RAD, on my stints as Lost Art of Podcasting, when we've done the Phoenix Pod, when I've even done when I had my stint doing Gunpowder Trees and No Plot, nothing like this happened, and it's a monumental shift in, well, the atmosphere of the country. Let's face it, the Queen has been a constant in this country for 70 years. We've just celebrated the Queen's got the Platinum Jubilee, which has been on the throne for 70 years in July, and it's maybe June, maybe, I'm not quite sure. I've slept since, but it showed how much this country loved the royal family. And I know there's people out there that go, fuck the royal family, not relevant, I want republic, yada yada yada. But you can't take away the fact that the royal family have been a constant, an absolute constant, for over a millennia. And I'm going back way to like the Dark Ages, 1066, Battle of Hastings, when there was Wessex and all this lot. There's always been a royal family, whether it, Hanover or Stuart, Tudors, going all the way back. There's been a royal family, and you can trace all of it back through blood in different ways. And it's been a constant in this country, and it's something that is part of our identity. Now, more so with Queen Elizabeth II, people of my age, even people of my mother's age, who's 71, it's the only monarch they've ever really known. And they don't remember a time before Queen Elizabeth was there, that constant presence that was like part of our identity. And I'll be brutally honest with you, I was sat there and I was watching the news as it happened, because I got a phone call off my mum and told me that the Queen wasn't well. And what happened in the country was, I think it was like 12:30 and midday, something like that. If you're watching the BBC, there was Barking Hunt was on. And they just cut away from it, saying that the Queen's health was dire and she was being looked after and made comfortable. And that obviously doesn't sound great. I mean, we've had health scares with monarchs before, but they don't normally put a news flash on the TV and just dedicate a channel for numerous hours just because a part of the royal family wasn't well. So obviously alarm bells are ringing there as someone who's, well, I'll be honest with you, like I said, it didn't bother me as such on my day-to-day, but I'm fond of the royal family. I'm British. It's part of my identity. I do care about the royal family as such. Like, it doesn't bother me on my day-to-day, but yeah, I do care a little bit about the royal family. And I was a bit concerned when, obviously, my mum rings me. I watch it, I go, and then I'll keep it going, and I'm watching, and I go away to pick the kids up, and I come back, and it's still going on. Kids go away to do whatever they're doing, and I'm sat here and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden the black ties come out, and the jackets, the black jackets, and everybody is dressed in black. And now this is about 4:30, and yeah, you knew something was wrong. It's like they knew straight away. They knew what was going on. They was in the know. Apparently there was messages being passed around Parliament, things like that. And yeah, it wasn't no secret. There was obviously wrong. I think what was happening was they was waiting until everybody got home to announce it, and they announced it roughly about 6:30 that the Queen had died. And I got goosebumps, I'm brutally honest with you, because it's something that is monumental. It's a moment in history, especially if you're watching it as it happens. And I'll be honest with you, like I say, I'm not really that fussed about the royal family at the time. I am fond of them, but like I say, it doesn't bother me on my day-to-day. But I'll be honest with you, this affected me, and I was a little bit upset, because it's not a case of I was fond of the royal family, or if it was part of like my day-to-day, it wasn't. But it was a part of my identity that went, and everybody's identity. Because when you think of Britishness, you think of tea, you think of crumpets, if you're being stereotypical, but you also think of the Queen, and specifically Queen Elizabeth II. You don't think, oh, there's kings and queens and royal family automatically. The first thing that you think of, and still do to an extent, is Queen Elizabeth II. It was part of our identity as being a British person, and that was suddenly ripped away from you. And it was weird. I'll be brutally honest with you. It was strange. You don't realise how close people hold the royal family to them without actually expressing it. And that's what happened to me. I wasn't expressive of how fond I was of the royal family as such. I mean, Prince Andrew can go and fuck himself, but time and a place. I've seen some vitriol, I'll get onto that later. But part of that, my identity, and a lot of people's identity, was ripped away when the Queen died. Because she was our Queen. She was being there. She'd been there since the day I first drew breath. And then all of a sudden she's gone. She's that one constant. This is one thing, a lot of people from maybe other countries don't seem to understand is, like, for example, in America, you can potentially change your president every 4 years. And they have a term, I think it's 3 terms, the maximum they can do, so 12 years. That's the length of time that you can be in office for. You're not that permanent, like, constant presence that's always there. And the Queen was that. The Queen was always there for 70 years. It was a state of stability. The way she conducted herself for 70 years. You know, she dedicated her life for service to the country. And she never faltered from that for 70 years. Even to the day, a couple of days before she died, where she met the Prime Minister to give permission to form a government. She was there. She was frail. In them pictures, you could tell she didn't have long left. Her hands were purple. And she dropped a ton of weight. And she just did not look well. She looked, I'll be brutally honest, she looked awful. I mean, she looked dignified, as the Queen always did. But she didn't look well, and you could tell there was something seriously wrong. And then obviously 2 days later, in fact even the day after, she had to have a meeting with the Privy Council cancelled because of her health. She was advised to cancel it, and she had to. So clearly she was dying then. It just so happened that she was so unwell, the family had to be called, and that had to be recalled fast because she was that unwell. So yeah, how do I feel about it? Really, it is upsetting. It's a part of, like I say, it's part of our identity that's suddenly going to change. We can't say God save the Queen anymore. It's just small things that change. Like the national anthem's going to have to change. Well, for generations, it's been God save the Queen. Now all of a sudden, it's God save the King. It's a minor change, but it's also a big change. It's a change in our identity as a nation. It is a big change. And now, obviously, we've got to get used to Prince Charles, or not Prince Charles, but King Charles III now, as he's known as. And I'm open to see what he is going to be like, whether he's going to be as likeable as the Queen, maybe. I don't know. I do know he's a little bit abrasive, and people do have opinions about Charles in regards to how he's treated people like Princess Diana. and things like that. He does have a bit of an iffy history. But as of late, he's not really done anything too bad. Nothing as such where you can criticise him and go, right, I really detest this man. He hasn't done anything. Now, I've seen a lot of shit online recently, and this is where the vitriol comes in. I can only describe it as almost character assassination of King Charles when he's been signing these documents. One was when he was signing, I think literally the day after his mum died. Let's remember that, right? The Queen is the Queen to us, but to King Charles, it was his mum. To Harry and to William, it's a grandparent. It's a grandma. And people seem to forget this. And then obviously he's signing these documents, which are going to be kept in it's going to be viewed for all of time. This footage that we're seeing now, it's unprecedented. This is going to be brought up and reeled off for hundreds of years. And Prince Charles is under a lot of pressure to get everything right now. Especially with these documents that he's signing. And, there was a story when he was in, was it Northern Ireland? Where he was signing documents and he got the date wrong. An easy mistake we've all done. Especially right now when he's non-stop and every single day must blend into one. He's not got time to look at what the date is. He's trying to keep track of everything else. So it's an easy mistake to make. And obviously, when you're signing this documentation, which is going to go down in history, it's going to get vaulted away, it's going to be a relic one day, it's going to be in the history books. And you don't want to make mistakes. And if you do make a mistake, you're going to be annoyed. If things aren't going the way you want them to go, as smooth as this possibly could be, you're going to get annoyed. For example, when he was the first signing he was going to do, forgive me, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a proclamation or something like that, and it had never been filmed before. And you see him sat at a little table. There's like a pen with an inkwell in it. Everything's got to be signed in fountain pen. Let's remember this as well. And we all know how temperamental fountain pens can be. They can be iffy little fuckers and bleak all the time. I've lost tons of coursework in high school trying to be clever using a fountain pen, and it's leaked on my work. God forbid him having a pen leak on a historical document that has to be signed correctly with all the I's and all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed, and there can't be any mistakes, and things don't go as smooth as they could. And there's footage of him wafting his hand away at the inkwell thing, trying to get it shift off the table. Bear in mind, he's got two huge fucking documents on a little tiny table, and he's trying to make room for himself so he can sign it without making a mess. And he's getting criticised for that. The bloke's mum's just fucking died. Give the man some fucking respect and some slack. Seriously. And the same again when he was told that the stinking pen had leaked on his hand and it was wiping everywhere. Do you know what? His mum's died. He's been non-stop. He's got to follow traditions. He's had to do all this, that and the other. To the letter. And he has a setback. I'm not being funny. I think he was quite restrained. Because if it was me, I would have thrown the pen and then probably impaled the guy behind him with it and called it a cunt as it flew in the air. Let's be honest. We all would. The fact that he kept a bit of decorum and, only called it a stinking pen. Fair play to him. You know what? He got another pen, signed it off, job done. Fair play to the man. And the fact that crowds and crowds and crowds of people came to see King Charles as he came to Buckingham Palace, and everyone was singing the national anthem. This is the thing. This is one of the positive things about what's happening with the Queen Elizabeth dying, is it has brought the country together. People are being nice to each other for a change. It's lovely. It's nice to see. You see these statements of, for example, when West Ham United played in the Europa League that day. Or it might have been I don't think it might have been the Europa League. It might have even been a league game. And they just normally, obviously, they're famous for singing "We're Forever Blowing Bubbles." Now, I don't know if that got sung as well, but they all just spontaneously started singing the national anthem in unison. Well played. Love it. There was another one with Rangers playing Napoli in the Champions League, and they asked permission to UEFA. Can they sing the national anthem and have a minute's silence? And for some reason, UEFA went no. Rangers stuck the middle finger up and did it anyway. I applaud Rangers for that. That is absolutely fantastic. If you want to show your respect in any way, shape, or form, you should be allowed to do that. And I don't see a problem with that. And I don't understand why UEFA just gone, oh, do you know what? We're going to run a minute late. Why not? It's a minute late, a minute of time. Just, get on with it. Just do it. Show some respect, UEFA, please. It's a whole nation that's in mourning. But yeah, let's see what the future holds. I mean, I'll be watching the funeral when it happens on Monday, showing my respect. Obviously, living in Blackpool, it's hard to get down to London right now and be able to do and show my respects. But if I could, I would be there. Been showing my respect by watching the footage on the TV, paying close attention to it, and being respectful. And it's a case of a situation where I understand if you're not a royalist. I understand if you don't like the royal family, but there's a time and a place. And all you're going to do, if you are critical of the royal family right now, if you are making sick jokes about the royal family right now, all you're going to do is you're going to get vitriol upon yourself and have natural consequences. I believe in free speech. I believe in basically joking about what you want to joke about. It doesn't entitle you to a lack of consequence. If someone disagrees with you, they can disagree with you and act accordingly. And if you want to, do you know what? I'll take what I said back slightly. You want to criticise the royal family right now. You want to make sick jokes about the royal family. Go ahead, be my guest, but don't be shocked when people are upset about it, and let you know about it in many different ways. Just my advice on this one would be, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything for now. Just wait. I mean, even the Prince Andrew stuff, I know there's a lot of shit going on. I don't like Prince Andrew. I'm not going to say anything on air that's potentially, legal issues or anything like that. But if you're going to criticise him, wait until he's buried his mother, for God's sake. I know he's done some horrible, unspeakable things, apparently. But, yeah, just wait, let him bury him. Don't forget, he's got other family that's going to be witnessing this as well. And they've got other things to worry about, like, burying their mum. So, things like that don't help. But yeah, overall, it's been, in a weird kind of way, it's been a positive experience, because it's brought people together. It's brought us as a nation. Like, I listened to another podcast a while back, and not even a while back, maybe a few days ago, and they've said they've never felt more patriotic than they do now. And you know what? I have to agree. I feel more British now with what's happened now. And it's weird. It's like it's taken the death of our monarch to bring people together, which is a shame. Maybe as the years go on, maybe we can remember this and how we all came together, and maybe just as a nation, we can all get along, and the less trivial shit will bother us. So yeah. Maybe something a bit more positive, maybe. Something a bit more... something I've been up to, perhaps, maybe, is I've been watching the new Cyberpunk Anime on Netflix. Now, yeah, I enjoy Cyberpunk. I don't think I've ever gone on air to say I've got Cyberpunk. I got Cyberpunk despite the criticism. And I know it's got its issues, but I really never had any game-breaking ones. It's a good game. It's a really good game, Cyberpunk. If you're into your role-playing and your action, like Witcher and things like that, it's up your street. Especially now when they've polished it. Right now is probably the best time to pick it up. You can get it in the shops dirt cheap on disc for the Xbox One. And if you've got an Xbox Series X, you get the free upgrade, so it's worth doing. I think I saw it for 20 quid the other day in CEX, so it's worth picking up. You might even be able to get it cheaper online if you're lucky. And I've been watching the anime which got released, or rather announced, alongside the update which came out for Cyberpunk, and it's called Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It's an adult-orientated anime, so don't show it to your fucking kids, for God's sake. It's got tits and ass and violence in it. But I've really enjoyed it so far. The story's compelling in it, especially if you know Cyberpunk. If you played the Cyberpunk game and you enjoy the game, you're going to get a lot more out of this. It's a lot of fun. It's violent, it's gory. The English dub is brilliant in it. I've not watched the Japanese dub yet to compare. I will do. But the English dub isn't so bad. I mean, when I watch my anime, I like watching... If it's something I've not seen before in English, I'll watch it in Japanese. And I'll read the subtitles and things like that. Like Naruto, I've watched every single episode of Naruto in Japanese with subs. I've watched Bleach with subs. I've watched Dragon Ball in English because apparently that's the best way to do it. But overall, anime's for me, it's got to be in Japanese. I watched the Final Fantasy Advent Children many years ago, before the English dub was even released in Japanese, and it just is superior. Absolutely superior. The voices fit the characters, for example. In the English dubs, sometimes they don't. They're very jarring. Naruto's a perfect example of that. The Japanese is so much better. And it is in general for anime normally. As for Cyberpunk Edgerunners, I have obviously seen it in Japanese, so I can't really comment, but I've played the game in English, so the voices fit. For example, Delamain in the game is Delamain in the in the anime. I love the use of the music from the game as well. The music from the game is in the anime. There's locations in the game that are in the anime as well, so you're going to go, oh, I know that place, I've done this, that, and that here. So it's nice. I even if you don't play Cyberpunk, it's a nice one to watch if you're into your anime. I can't fault it at the minute. I mean, I've watched 6 out of the 10 episodes so far. It's starting to pick up. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, so if you want to watch it, go and watch it. It's on Netflix now. The half-an-hour episodes each, so if you're going to binge it 5 hours, it's a good watch. It really is, and I can't slate it. David, the main character in it, is likable. It's enjoyable. I don't Arasaka in it, basically. They're the corpo bad guys in it as per the game. So yeah, I can't fault it. I highly recommend it. And yeah, go out when you listen to this podcast, go out and watch it. And obviously, like I said, this is going to be a short form podcast, so I'm going to quickly go over my last topic, which is one of my other things that I enjoy watching, Formula One. Now, Formula One has started this year. We got the new rules. We thought it would shake the grid up a little bit, and it has a little. Mercedes are not the old dominant monsters that they were, but they are coming back slowly. Ferrari and Red Bull, to begin with, were the teams to beat. Now we only have a team to beat. Ferrari have stagnated. Red Bull have gone into fucking overdrive. To the point where it's as boring as it was when Schumacher was dominant in Ferrari. But we think more fondly of the Schumacher era now because the cars were a lot more exciting than they are now. That's not to say the cars nowadays aren't great. The racing's fantastic with them. And at the moment, I am enjoying the races, but I'm just not enjoying the battle up front because it's like shooting fish in a barrel at the minute for Verstappen. And I don't like Verstappen as a driver. I just think he's a smug, arrogant little shit. But yeah, it's been okay if you don't watch the front of the field. It's been a little bit predictable so far. I mean, Verstappen's just winning everything at the minute, and it's obscene. Not that's to say that's a bad thing on Verstappen's part or Red Bull's part. At the end of the day, they've built a car that's capable of doing that, and they have a driver that's capable of delivering. And that's the name of the game, isn't it? Let's face it. I mean, my favourite F1 car of all time is the FW14B, Nigel Mansell's all-dominant car from 1992. And that's my favourite car of all time. So it would be a bit rich, really, of really slagging off a sport that I've enjoyed for many, many years. And my favourite car is as a dominant killer car from 1992, when we've got another dominant killer car now. So I can't really use that as a criticism as such. Now, the racing itself has been quite good. If you go back, Alonso's been a revelation this season. You've got drivers like Mick Schumacher, who's one of my favourite drivers on the grid, who he ebbs in and ebbs out. He's a good driver on his day, but he can be a liability because he crashes a lot. Then you've got Kevin Magnussen, who comes in and just sits in the car and is instantly fast. And for me, he got an award, I can't remember what it was called. It's named after an Italian driver that died at the Monaco Grand Prix in the 50s. And well deserved, because he basically came in cold. Nikita Mazepin was there, and then obviously Russia did what they did. And we'll talk about that on the next episode, about what Russia's been up to. But yeah, Magnussen comes in and does a solid job. Can't fault him whatsoever. Sauber doing Sauber things right now. Bottas was like doing fucking miracles with that car at the beginning of the season. Now it's showing its true potential of slipping backwards down the grid. Aston Martin, again, shit in qualifying, fantastic in the race when they finish. Vettel's retiring, so I was quite public back in the day, if you knew me on Facebook and things like that I didn't like Max Verstappen. I called him some very, very nasty things. But as he's got older, he's got much more likeable, and I can respect a man that idolises Nigel Mansell. Let's face it. He owns Red 5. I can't fault the man, and I can't wait to see him in a World Endurance Racer. I really can't. I can see him driving for Ferrari in the World Endurance Championships, which is looking amazing next season. I can see that happening. And yeah, it's a shame for him to go in Formula 1, especially at a relatively young age, considering how long drivers are going for nowadays, because of how fitness levels have increased and things like that. I mean, let's remember, Hamilton's been in the sport now since 2007. So he's very, very slowly edging towards a 20-year career. Alonso has been in the sport for 20 years, on and off. So, it's you can keep your fitness level up, and your reaction sharp. Obviously, drivers are going to be kept on. What other teams are there? Oh, we've got there. McLaren. Right, McLaren are an absolute shit show this season, to be fair. Norris is doing what he can. Ricciardo, sorry, mate, you're done. You're toast. You're just taking a seat right now. And the only way you're going to stay in the sport is by taking a backward step. And at 33 years of age, mate, that's your career in downfall, mate. My personal opinion on what he should do, then this isn't advice, because who the fuck am I to advise? Get the fuck out of Dodge. Keep your reputation, what you've got now, as a decent race driver, and take it elsewhere. Whether that be the World Endurance Championships, whether that be IndyCar, whether that be going down to Australia and doing the V8 supercars, whatever you want to do, NASCAR even, whatever, go and do it now while you still can get the money. Personally, I would go for WEC, personally, because that's where the money is going to be at the moment. Maybe IndyCar, perhaps. Maybe you could do both if they don't clash, maybe, I don't know. Don't go to Formula E, mate, you're just wasting your time. Formula E, it ended up being the TNA of the motorsport world, in total non-stop action wrestling, where all the ex-WWE guys would go after they'd been released by WWE. And back in the day, they used to go to TNA and you go, oh my god, what's Christian Cage doing in the Impact Zone when he'd just been released as Christian from WWE? Or Booker T, or loads and loads have gone there. The Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, loads have been there. And Formula E almost feels a bit that way now. I mean, yeah, back in the day, you had Nick Heidfeld, you've had Massa, you've had, who's on the grid now, Giovinazzi, Verline, Van Dorn. It's where Formula 1 careers normally go to die. Buemi, Nelson Piquet Jr., people like that all go to Formula E. Now, I don't mind Formula E. I love Formula E, but we've got to call a spade a spade. It's had a reputation for being the retirement home of failed Formula 1 drivers. It really has. And it's unfortunate because the series has got serious potential. and they are releasing a new car this year, and I'm hoping it's a good one. It looks weird, to say the least. The last car looked great, but we shall see. I'm open to give it a chance, and we'll see where we're at. What do I see happening this year? Verstappen cakewalking it. He's not going to win it in Singapore next race. Are we going to win it the race after? He'll win it next, whatever the race is after that. I don't know the calendar off the top of my head. Leclerc shit the bed. Ferrari shit the bed. Mercedes, for what they've done, have done a solid job so far. McLaren have shit the bed. Alpine doing Alpine things. Sauber or Alfa Romeo shit the bed. AlphaTauri shit the bed. So yeah, we shall see what's going on. There's obviously rumours of drivers moving teams. Obviously that's going to happen. We're going to get announcements about that soon, and as they do, I may cover it. So yeah, that was it. That's our little short form podcast that we are doing from now on. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to let us know how we've done, let us know on the socials. You can speak to us on at UK RAD Podcast on Twitter. We are also on the Facebook as well as on. We're still under your RAD Podcast, but I'm gonna have a look at changing that at some point. But yeah, it's been a fun one. If you also want to follow the Lost Art Podcast, you can find them on Facebook and on Twitter at Lost Art Podcast or LAOP Podcast. You can also find our friends, the Gunpowder Trees and No Plot. They're Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition live play podcast, and you can find them at Trees and No on Twitter. And you can also find our stuff for the wrestling. If you like listening to wrestling review shows of like classic shows or some alternative commentary to WrestleMania, which fucking almost killed us, you can find them at Lost Art of Wrestling or LAOW on Twitter. And you can find all these podcasts on all your favourite podcast catchers, such as Stitcher, such as Spotify, such as Apple Music. Everywhere you do podcasts, you'll find them. Even on YouTube. And I think on that note, I think we'll call it quits. I've been Stupid Sexy Flinders. I am half a man. And I'll see you on the next show. Thank you for listening.